It's been a bit, so I don't remember what happened. We are still in court. We brought in Eggert Benedict himself, or what's his name? Ashley... something. And he's still insistent that he has nothing to do with this case. Well, we are wearing him down little by little. Let me check the history. Okay. He says that he saw, Gina do it. But do you have the proof? Or, I guess he doesn't have the proof, he just has his testimony. But we have proof, I think, that he did not see it? We'll see. Ordar, Ordar, Ordar! Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes. I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Ballsy ass motherfucker. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. While all these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When Windibank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused, in the black coat, shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood spatter all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. What? She was holding a gun. Good gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Ordar, Ordar, Ordar! It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. The truth? Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Fucking the police are in on it. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood spattered over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? He's gonna use the blood spatter, but we got evidence that it's someone else's blood. Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat that pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If her coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's to true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used, with your lordship's permission. We could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Bruno. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Jeannie's coat. If they tested with their chemicals... Oh, help, you're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Let's shoot that coat. Boom. But it's not Mr. Windibank's blood. Yep. It's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by McGillard, who was wearing the coat at the time. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Van Zeeks, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. And while we await the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find that blood in the overcoat, Gina will be... Counsel? Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. If this cross-examination doesn't go well, if I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial.
Hold it!
Mr. Windibank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in all my life. Yeah, we're just your regular mild-mannered burglars, that's all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help me little bruv, but the old geezer chucked me over the bloomin' counter. So I pulled me gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scoffer. A pair of you sitting upon the floor, defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you. Sorry, Gov.
Hold it!
You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at exactly that moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the counter and the wall behind you. So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. Oh, and put some antibiotics on there. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Windibank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled me gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way. And then he scoppered through that door out back. At which point, what did you do?
Hold it!
You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, the storeroom door is a solid job, made of stout wood. there's a small opening in it, about head height, that lets you see what's what in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through the peephole as well? Not likely, Gov. Didn't see nothing on the sort, Gov. I doubt these two buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Windibank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there. The defendant? Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? Pack of lies.
Hold it!
Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Windibank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. Ah, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from the Windibank's gun grazed my arm, and yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely, a third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time.
Objection!
But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry. You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. And it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say.
Hold it!
All over her. Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now. What with the coat being such a dark color. But I assure you, that garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Windibank's blood, is it? No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGilded stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying! If only they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't. So unfortunately, we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Fuck! Bother!
Hold it!
Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room. That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? In the direction of the storeroom door, to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated. And then, the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door. Well, why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Yes, it was yours truly. I left a clear out to my lackeys and left. Clear up? We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistling Fluter told us to tidy up. He thinks he's our bloomin' mum sometimes. Well, I was paying you enough, by God. Ugh. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you?
Excuse me.
Gentlemen. Ha, 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 ha. Something wrong, sunshine. That should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin. Blimey, this D's a bit of an hooligan, ain't he? What was going on just now? You saw him, he grabbed me whistle. Why the blazes, he said, didn't you mention the third gun when we got you down to the station? And why didn't you? 'Cause we didn't know nothing about it, or that flaming peephole in the door. Sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not hurt, are you? Oh, blimey, see the way he's looking at me. I'm telling you, this D gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Gregsy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him. Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character. My lord. Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. I have the results of the test as ordered earlier, my lord. Ah, the blood on the accused's overcoat. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel. No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of spattering following a gunshot wound? End of report. Goodness me. Why are they covering it up? This is such bullshit. See? What did I tell you?
Objection.
No, the blood in that coat is not Mr. Windibank's. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited at Windibank's, McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood in that overcoat is the blood the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Objection!
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry? 2 months ago in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilded's innocence? And yet now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. But that was... I call it a value disgrace. Treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood in that coat is 2 months old or not? Even a stereoscope couldn't help the answer to that problem pop out. It can't be done. But... we use Mr. Sholmes' specially formulated chemicals. Mr. Sholmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in the chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I held up Piroshki, the starving boy, and he ran away crying. Herlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom. No weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? As the witness said, the accused's coat was spattered with the blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known the fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. Fuck all of you. My lord. Been a long battle, this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman? As at this moment, sir, this squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men? All for one now. Sir?
Guilty.
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 Guilty!
Guilty.
Well, it would appear the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached a unanimous verdict. The defense has consistently failed to unpick this witness's testimony. Here's to any attempt you may make at unpicking the juror's decisions being equally successful. Ugh. I don't believe it. After I've come so far. How is it all unraveling on me so fast? Chin up. We got this. How very distressing to be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Officer? You've delivered the report now. That will be all, thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? Yes! Mr. Holmes! But what is the meaning of this? Ordar, ordar, ordar! What business do you have here, detective? The last I heard, you were recuperating in hospital. As well I would be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? It's really you! You're awake at last! Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what manner, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give to the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us a time? What say you to this, Lord Van Zeeks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly! Having spent so long already, we don't want to go waste any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Eh? Fuck you, Gregson. Very well then, counsel, you have 5 minutes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Sholmes, are you alright now? Alright, I'm all wrong. Sorry? I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Pray forgive me should I pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Catalina's place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Ah well, that concoction of mine was really just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by a scientific community. An oversight on my part. Right. Modesty? Surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? A lavender furoshiki wrapping. A leaving present from Miss Susato. From Miss Susato. If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do her this favor. I don't understand. Miss Susato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means both devious and underhand. And that you, Mr. Naruhodo, fighting fairly as you are wont to do, would find yourself in considerable peril. At that very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Susato-san. Whatever could it be? What is this? Oh! It's a machine I made! Ah. Huh? Okay, well, how's that gonna help us? It's my latest invention. I can make little cat and doggy doors anywhere. What's Susie up to? Mrs. Sato muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be a judicial assistant. What? Didn't she say something like that? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Nah, I'm fucking shit. Whatever did she mean by that, Mr. Jones? That night, when you left Windibanks in pursuit of the thieves, Miss Susato made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. Not at all cryptic, then. Susato-san used his cat Flap-O-Mat that night. But why? Okay. Your 5 minutes is over. We're out of time already. I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their leanings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder... Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me. I need to be careful here. If I make a wrong move, the trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests... I think we gotta do the cross-examination again, is what I'm leaning towards. Let's look at the stuff we just got. Hold on. Ew, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of a special alloy developed just for this job. The kata rotates 10 times per second, so it can get through any kind of door in no time at all. And where are the two parts at the top there? Ah, there's for attaching hinges to the section of door that gets cut out. Right, of course. Nothing can match this machine for power. It can make mincemeat of even the toughest of doors. It sounds so charming and friendly when you say what it's for, but it feels like the reality of the cat Flap-O-Mat is that it's a grim weapon of door destruction. My guy's so adorable. There's nothing it wouldn't do for him, even developing deadly weapons. So true. Did they make a fucking flap in the door to the store, to the back room? If only I could look at the fucking door. It doesn't look like there's a flap. Heck. What else can prove that, though? Further cross-examination.
Objection!
The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now.
Objection!
The defense is not asking for the cross-examination of a new witness, rather to continue with one of an existing witness. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. Interrupting. We did not finish. No objection for me. So nobody can say anything then? If Bruno asks to resume his cross-examination of Mr. Graydon, the court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. But it's protocol, isn't it? I would remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur that the defense is entirely within its rights to request a continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. A single chance to present evidence. If, following that, the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsels? You will not press the witness any further. My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time I fell in the dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Mr. Sholmes! To stand so insouciantly before the court in a state of such high fever, either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or an extraordinary lack of feeling. I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yes. One statement, one piece of evidence. I won't let Mr. Sholmes down, or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Susato-san has given me. He's going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then, under the terms I have outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. No more pressing. Gotta present something. Oh god, the music! I wonder if the people he's thinking of know. Because this is right before we came. Eee, I'm scared. me see this stuff first. Oh, we don't have the autopsy report? Here it is. Gently rising trajectory. Why don't we ask him to bring the fucking gun in? If he took it. I'm not sure. I assume we used a new thing we just got, but I don't know where to use it. What did... Fuck, okay. I wanted to see what our previous conversation with Holmes. I don't know where to present this. I'm gonna try this.
Objection!
What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Counsel? Oh, it's my cat flap-o-mat, my lord. It makes a way for cats to get in and out of a room. It can cut through any door you can think of, and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please, without their owners having to open the main door. I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. Ah! But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I describe its function another way, then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Windibank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us worked together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed a crime, for pity's sake? Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. What?
Objection!
It's a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Hold the fuck on, are we lying? my god! It's different. Oh my god, I did not look at that closely enough, I guess. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions. That is a most serious act of vandalism. For which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Ahaha. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Ordar! Is there any credence in this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly, this is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through a solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. Haha, I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy, coolie, time for dinner. Everybody say aww. Well... Young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make a cat flaps in the oak paneling at the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Windobanks was made by your machine. And there's no way you can prove that it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps my cat flapomat creates are all of a fixed size. And the dimensions of the peephole at Windobanks are an exact match. Hehe, old Steelkey's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student's friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. I can fucking show you. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zeeks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using the device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact there is no proof. Ugh. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. We got this, bro. It's okay. Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zeeks. Well, counsel? Don't give up now, Runo. It's the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Susato-san is the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well. The counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the peephole in the door of Windabang's storm was created after the event and not before. I can fucking show you the world. Hehe. 1 sec.
Take that!
What are you? A print from that detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Misusato Mikotoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, counsel. This print shows a scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defense's broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This really is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon? You couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Oh god. Did we get him? We got him. Ordar! I'm satisfied the defense has substantiated its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly... Good lord, there's more Lord Van Zeeks. The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury, but that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene. It's true. And I was shot in the arm. It's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. You didn't die. I don't believe this. But they're right, as it stands now. I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris? You know what they say? There's no point locking the cat's door after the cat has bolted. Isn't that right, Runo? As Harley always says. One lie begets another. No, wait. That might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
This is provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain this alleged inconsistency. Iris is right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witness's statements. They show that Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about, namely... the bloodstains. The bloodstains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right, the victim's blood spattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously, because I saw her do it through the peephole in... The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred, and once I returned to the shop having failed to catch the 2 burglars. Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibank constantly, carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pawn articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave the order to have officers working round the clock in shifts so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
What the fuck are you objecting to? And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole in the door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zeeks? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so if it's all the same to you... Permission denied. Oh. It's not at all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. Of course, sir. Mr. Graydon? You shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yes, but the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. The fucking police are in on it. Oh, oops. My controller died. And in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be. Who is the person in question, counsel? Who gave this witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony? Your reputation's gonna tank now, sir.
Take that!
The truth is, it can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Eh? Me?
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it only during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during our hour-long recess. Uh-oh, I think he's dead. Did I say this line already? Yes. While the police executed a subpoena and brought the man here from the communications station. And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have had no idea. No inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Until then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the peephole. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position. He would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was a third intruder. You're suggesting to the court that it was while this trial was in progress that he received the information, so that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin. Exactly. And the only person with knowledge of the investigation that he had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson. This is a bloomin' outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigations to this fella, eh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid eyes on one another was after proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view in the stand where such illicit discussions couldn't have possibly have occurred. We literally saw them. Ooh, I've just remembered something, Runo. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yes, now you mention it. When the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve McGillis' music box from the scene of the crime. That's it. It was during that testimony. Yes, it fucking was. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then. You little toe rag, you're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why indeed? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have had any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind, then it starts to make more sense. What deal, Counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Graydon agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that, if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with the witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance. Well,
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is his Nipponese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of this alleged deal. Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, and logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, do you think it could be? Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, Counsel. What evidence explains the nature of the alleged deal that Inspector Gregson made with the witness? I don't know what counts as the answer. I know it's the second music box disc. But I don't know if I should show that or the double music box.
Take that!
Inspector Gregson. Besides his murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? What are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top-secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could you... We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at Windobanks by Magnus McGilded. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... You're willing to put an innocent girl in jail for this? Ordar! Fucking lose your job, sir. On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windobanks, you said this. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to yard. Thank you very much. Hand it. It's fucking mine, you little bitch. Anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence. Scotland Yard already knew at the time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were: recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry. And do it on the QT. Strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Blimey, not likely. I mean, I wasn't sure of that myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector Shirley. Surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness. To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony. There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of the existence of the peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these 2 men.
Objection!
If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious, then, you mean to say... Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession. He has the second disc actually on his person.
Yes!
Hell yeah, he does. The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before. And Grexy hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector? This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if it'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree to it. I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following a search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious. Indeed, to have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force. But he's fucking right, though. It's not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runo because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here. Very well, Counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects? Oh my god, common sense tells me that he has it. But maybe he didn't do the exchange yet. Or maybe he's bluffing. Fuck! I don't know. I don't think he exchanged it already. Gave him information. Once the trial's over, then he can get the CD. Yes, the defense formally demands a search to be conducted. Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps a lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects, please. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson. That sounds really bad. The slaps sound really bad. What? Now what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector, not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of all this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, Sunshine? The court shouldn't have to put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. You think you stuffed it in Skulkins? Be quiet, all of you. We're noticing what you all told him to do and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly awaits his next words. You what? Now don't be hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about the things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure that I know who has a disc at the moment. There's only one person it can be. Counsel, of whom do you request a search now? Oh my god. Okay, wait. It could either be Eggman himself, or when he stuffed it down Nash's shirt. Because they're gonna question him anyways after this, right?
Take that!
Of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin. Well, I never. Eh? Me? In? Very well then. Bailiff, restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his... I don't think this is right.
Hold it!
Oh! Please, my lord. Inspector. Scotland Yard, has to object to this search.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here. Eh? In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Zeeks, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Fuck you, Gregson. Bailiff, carry out the search. Now, hold on a mo. I don't know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Cut it out! Ah! Here, my lord. In the witness's pocket. I found this. Good lord, that's another music box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing! That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not, Inspector Gregson? Ordar, Ordar, Ordar! Mr. Skulkin, what have you to say for yourself? Gordon Bennett, just Gordon Flamin' Bennett. I swear I didn't know nothing about that disc, honest to God. Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck was between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure. But at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment. I don't recall. What unusual behavior? It was, yes, during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Why was he strangling that man? While Mr. Graydon answered my questions, the inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, you did it all. Thought me noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been born as me brother I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? I ain't got a clue. We just suddenly turned and grabbed me, whistled like that, and started shaking me. Why the blazes didn't you mention the third gun when we got you down to the station? That's what he said. Yelled it right down my ear, all he did. Yes, still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved then was extremely out of character. But looking back now, it must have been then that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc. Oh, bless my wig, he hid it. You... But I'm afraid I failed to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he then proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. Recover the medium, and do it fast. Hush, hush. A top-secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if that information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the Ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance that you may be searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. Ah, does this mean he only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him, to slip the second disc into his pocket? So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit to the accusation made against you of this alleged deal? Admit to it. Yours truly, please. Mr. Graydon? Clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed that disc to the inspector.
Objection!
But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony, that I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder, leaking government secrets, striking a deal with a detective. All of it is this young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of that is about. You... what? Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I am acting in the best interest of the country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guide and light when you're making your decisions. You are not answering the question, sir. This is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness in the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings. Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and Country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Graydon is highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idol, stop. Detective has very much trust in his eyes. More than this, I cannot say. I don't believe it. Those 6 jurors are... They're going to believe Gregson if they declare their decision now. Is Ginny going to be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel, I think it's time I impose on the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Gina will be found guilty. So there's no choice then, Bruno. You have to throw some more evidence at them. That's it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against? Gregson or Graydon? I have to look at the evidence first. What? What evidence? Okay, hold on. Let me read the question. Like, proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole government secrets, or evidence to force Gregson admitting that he struck a deal. I'm not sure how to put it together. there's something else I can... I wish I could look at the other disc. I don't know if I have evidence for the deal. Leave it to the jury. I think that's just conceding, so it's either Graydon or Gregson. Mr. Graydon, there is one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. You misguided fool. Whatever you intend to show me now, you'll be wasting your time. I have nothing left to lose. I assure you, I will admit to nothing. This is my last chance. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get him to admit to the deal he clearly struck on the stand. Oh, okay, that's what we're looking for. I can't. Let me see what it says here. Can we play this?
Take that!
Is that Mr. McGilda's peculiar music box council? Yes, with a disc already in place, ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc council.
Hold it!
No, wait, I can't let you do that. Why not? Because, well, because it's got nothing to do with this case, that's why.
Objection!
Not true, Inspector. Eh? The defense has already proposed that the sounds heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprises of two distinct tones. The defense believes that the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking about state secrets here. If you go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect those state secrets, you engage in unlawful dealings with the witness. You're mad. If you let that secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot.
Objection!
Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leak confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare. I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please. I skipped something there. I guess Van Zieks is just like, I'm just gonna sip my wine. The court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Come on, Van Zieks, for Pete's sake, stop it.
Objection!
Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth, by fair means or foul. Very well. The defense's stance here and that the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to the music box. Wait. Will now listen as this music box is set in operation once more. This time with a second disc in place and both discs playing simultaneously. That lady's gonna translate it for us. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. Alright, I admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love of God. Shut that bloomin' box up. Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you or did you not strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Stop. What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said when the trial resumed after the recess and we were stood here in the stand together. That's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile. Shut up! Psst, you there. You're a detective who turned up at the pawnbrokery the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector, with me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. More information that may take certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door, and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windebank. You... Oh! Traitor! Bailiff! Bailiff! Restrain that man! At once! That's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born to poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. Boo-hoo! So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole. And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decided to try to sell government secrets. Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend with a queer talent, so you are. I have money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me, little plan now. I was to steal the Ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the Ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task. The lure to devil's offerings, how easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right, he was very skilled with his hands. He'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again, to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory. A thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box disc, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the skull with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had him make the 2 discs. Thereby splitting the information in 2. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in 2 separate transactions. The first involved the first of the 2 discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago was the second part of a deal, the exchange of the second disc. Yes, I'd sold the man information that way a number of times already, but it seems he became reluctant to part with his money. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it that on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself? When I received 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I'd asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name. Exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine. But McGilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. Feet had barely touched British soil back then. Soil back then. And I walked into that hornet's nest, completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. But who fucking told me to defend him in the first place? Huh? Huh? I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in this city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that. Are you saying that? I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything to his favor in this courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that Monster deserved. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilded's death that day was caused by this man. You should have gotten the fucking money from it. So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter, hired by me. McGilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. Threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilded inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. A spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end. Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded. Ah, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of 2 discs in the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for ye, young man. What's this? Winterbank's pawnbrokery. Aye, 'tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for ye. There's no need to give a name, just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the watchword. Put a jewel in pawn for ye. I can hear the thunder through my headphones. You'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite that way before. Have ye not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And that on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Winterbanks that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Mrs. Strahd written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From from the trial. That pickpocket testimony was clearly peculiar, anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of McGilded's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some enquiries. I had a strong suspicion that girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. He was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was to wait until the girl went to Windibanks to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat and the one disc that was in its pocket. The all-important music box with the second disc inside was missing, because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, we picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved. Inspector, you've recovered fast. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible, so we started gathering the fellow's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere, so I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. That's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I'd located the music box I'd sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. What are you doing in my shop? A gunshot rang out in the shop and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly, but unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I'd fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge. A sorry, sorry tale. It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windibanks on that wretched night. Earlier, you called McGilded a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony. For what you have done is exactly the same. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded. Yes, I think I have. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial. However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon? He's been restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Windibank and the stealing the government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector. Regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord. Of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains, whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Ah, yeah? It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Yes, sir. Garrett of Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
That's the stuff. I'm off the hook. Finally, Bruno, you finally managed to do it. Finally is a word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world. Mrs. Strad, I am not finished with you yet. Eh? What are you looking at me like that for? Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider, Eh? 2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windibank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilda's property, it seems. Eh? I never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilda's coat in your cell yesterday or anything. Aw, and just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening. And turning our attention to the defense, determining that when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was... Well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast. For real this time? To demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. That's not my intention. But very sorry about that. It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit to what he'd done, so... If I may say something on that point. Isn't that... It's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all. What? What are you saying, madam? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact. Goodness, madam, an unhealthy level of obsession one feels. But I must say that in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that, a meaningless series of two different tones. Serious? Series? What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again. Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, Sunshine. This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know McGilda conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further. Ugh, but it's really going to bother me. Mrs. Strad? Yeah, my lord? That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child. Come on, it ain't nothing I don't see most days in the back slums. I beg your pardon. If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you've gotta start at home. You've gotta change how you are yourself. Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windibank, proprietor of a pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty! Fireworks! Yeah! Oh! I'll go ahead and end this today. That is all. Court is adjourned. On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Oh. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within that Englishman, and at the same time, saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Pan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did. When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Who are you talking about? Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago, it gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. Oh man. But it took all day. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? Ah. Congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Mr. Nara Odo. You believed in me, right up to the end. You're as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? No one ever has before, see? Kept a promise, I mean. Properly. That's awful. I figured something out today. All my life growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. That's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though. Trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in! But I suppose... sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. Thanks. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean, Kazuma. Am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Oh. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Ah, that voice. It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ahaha! Yes, it was me all along, I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people with your incessant babbling. Ah, Mr. Sholmes? Ahaha! Yes, it was me all along, you see. I thought you fainted. I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happen to be aware of one or two foibles that the doctor was sending to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you. I'm great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Mrs. Strahd? Or even having a snooze in your nice soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Ah well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? And, in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Mrs. Strahd. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but... an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial he was working on winds up dead anyway, is that it? The very point I was trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like him upstairs. Him upstairs? You mean, like God? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. You won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There are some covers like that bog trotter what are rotten to the core. Covers? I meant to say coves. At the end of the day, I'm upstairs. Make sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGildeds of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in you which is to be admired, Mr. Strahd. Oi, just give a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, there you are, Harley! How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Ah, Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolls didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. I'll be careful. He said it. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was so hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm gonna be going nowhere for a while. You were the judge's fatter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the bog trotter stuff, what was in that lug, blah blah blah. Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense, it's a job, innit? I don't think so. Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Odo? Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all them lot like me from the slums, something that makes a difference for them. That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Is she in Lestrade? Person carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yes, goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Odo. Yes. Ah! What was that for? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say, so... Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Mrs. Strahd. Eh? On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh. Oh yes! It's good advice, Ginny. Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Odo. Oh, thank you for everything what you've done, for believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, well, quite the indomitable pig of hers. Oh, I nearly forgot. I bought a paper outside. It's a special edition and its trials all over the front page. Pickpocket's innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful? You should have shown it to Gina, Irish. She would have been thrilled. Oh no, how silly of me. Ah, but anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news? Ugh, not again. Well, what do you say, Bruno? Hurley? As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news. And here you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level of rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news? The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right, if we head to the station immediately, we may still make it in time to wave Susie off. But, there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. Soleil. Sole. I don't... The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport director's foibles. What? I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria. That took somewhat longer than I had anticipated. Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Miss Susato, where are you? Over there, look! Looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
Miss Susato, wait! What are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo, what are you doing here? We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. It's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So, I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law? You? Susato-san? Would I be correct in assuming? It's because of the peephole, Miss Susato. I deliberately altered the scene of the crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How'd you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? The art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun! I saw Runo's armband! Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapomat, so I put it up my sleeve. I wonder how big this thing is. Really? And I rather forgot about it until I found myself in Mr. Winterbank's shop with it later that night. I see. And then... Ah! Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door, you mean? Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So, we used a cat flapomat to make the peephole in the door. As captured in a photographic print at the shop by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it was of the first importance at that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. When I looked through the hole in the door, that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that trial 2 months earlier. The trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice systems feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Winterbank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing. We were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime. That's right, but then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have to be a way to see beyond the door. Ah. For which, a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even to the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the peephole could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Ah. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with the crime scene. So Miss Susato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake and Miss Lestrade's. Miss Susato. The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I'd lost a little of my faith in the law. Oh. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the peephole inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Miss Susato, what you did saved Gina's life. Oh, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo. Saved me too, from my regrets. Well, we must all be thankful that Mrs. Strahd's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box disc contains secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't? There's a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect. After all, we are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher, I see. So then, we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pi problem, I assure you. So... Gi? What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said Asoki. Does that word mean something to you? Mean something? Asoki, what's the name of my best friend? What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box. She transcribed it on the fly. She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. But I think it's based on the Iroha pangram, isn't it? And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says Asogi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Miss Susato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications. Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version. Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. Of course! But what can this possibly mean? Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes. It's made the color drain from Susato-san's face. There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code. So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications. I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names. The first is Kei Asogi. Kazuma Asogi. Why? Why was his name on that disc? The second is A. Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. The third is T. Gregson. Gregson. It would seem Tobias Gregson is the third man on the list. And what's his name doing in the secret government communication as well? The last name... What's the matter, Miss Susato? It's just so strange, so unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message. Or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris. I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind of between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So, Daddy could be in Japan then, where Susie and Rudo come from. Shit. Oh, well... no, it's not very likely really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson and there must be lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. But we can't tell Iris about that now, we just can't. This is so strange. Somehow in solving the case of Mr. Windibank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oop. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon. Yes, it seems so. I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change into a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie? We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato. Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best. Miss Susato, I had hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me. Mr. Naruhodo, please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris, I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. I don't think fulfill spelled like that, but I'm not sure. A promise? About your manuscript? Ah. Oh yes, the Hound of Baskervilles. Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Do you remember the first time we met? Yes, of course. On the SS Buria when I was dragged out from that wardrobe still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown. You know very well I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy. Miss Susato. And my instincts were right. I really want to believe... No, I'm sure that... I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead.
Ahaha.
Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, Mr. Sholmes? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently. Huh? It caused such a commotion on the line, all the other trains had to wait at stations. But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything, and how it was all your fault. Huh? Huh? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow, according to Miss Susato. You love defending yourself in court. Huh? 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 It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? I'm gonna kill you. Yes? A word, if you don't mind. Quite certainly, any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Oh yes, I love Bruno's words, and I know just the one he'll use here. Then, I really must say...
Objection!
Hell yeah, credits! So you ordered them all yourself! Use by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. And did they sell? Wow. I haven't slept a wink. This manuscript is due tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement for some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfast. Japanese breakfast is egg rice. Green tea. Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions. Exactly. Rarely do rare Kovan coins hide under rare stakes themselves. Oh, this is just remembering the past. I laid low on the steamship for a while. But last night I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. I've done nothing wrong! All I did was give Wagahai's offspring refuge in my pocket. A man brings some kittens on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal. It's not fair. How? The timeline doesn't make sense of them meeting, but whatever. Oh, I think he's on his way. Wait, no. That still doesn't make sense. Scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in a new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds till my next appointment. He must have known something about Nagilded. It's still very suspicious. The latest Rand's magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote in now, I get a standing ovation when I hear it. Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Glug. Why didn't you? I literally did. Her ladyship puts me to shame. You piece of shit. Lose your fucking job. Been visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Joni, my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those bally stares every day has done wonders for the dicky peg. Hello? Managing rather well with the housework, too. Got this maid business taped up, I'd say. Hope the gossiping neighbors don't realize the man at the house is his own maid. Oh my god. He likes doing housework. My Rolly is back on the beat again. All thanks to the Reaper. There's nothing I enjoy more these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. I'm a better bobby now, looking out for Londoners, their dropped halfpennies, and my lovely wife. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a natta, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about all them cases what Sholmes is looking into. Criminal investigations are kind of interesting when you get into them. You wanna become a detective? Hehehehe. Why is she in jail? You better watch the episode. Yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. But regrets? Please. Give cover, bruv. That ain't the Ash we used to know. We got in time near to plan the comeback of Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, right? The three must get what's-its. Milk in the neighborhood for all it's worth. I'm glad they are on good terms. Past 6 months has been a time I shall remember forevermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruhodo-san, I promise. Your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well. Rest in peace. Just going away for a bit. Can we finally draw this other... Oh. Oh, look at that picture! Wait, I like this. Oh my god, it's them! Oh, more credits. Oh, well, you better watch this last episode. Haha. This bitch. Oh, nice. What'd you think? Bye, Kazuma! That is what happened. So will Susato walk with us now? Hell yeah. This fucking guy. No, you're good. Yeah. Oh my god, it's the three amigops. Yeah, he saves the day in the end. Will Iris walk with us too? Yeah! Can I get a hell yeah? I like her little backpack with her trinkets. Oh my god, the two of them doing the little finger point. That was very good. Oh my god. So what happens? Special content. It's just I listened to some of the music. Some music that they didn't use and stuff. That's cool. And I want alternative outfits. Oh my goodness! I should have turned this on. Japanese jumble mix. Oh my god. Wait, he looks like... Wait, what's that anime? Whatever. I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna elaborate. Okay, I guess it starts after this. But we'll end it here. I've gone an hour over.